Hello friends, today we will discuss the direct method of teaching English. Direct method is a method of teaching a foreign language, especially a modern language, through conversation, discussion and reading in the language itself. यानी कि जो भाषा हम पढ़ा रहे हैं, जो फॉरेन लैंग्वेज या इंग्लिश की हम बात कर रहे हैं, उसको हम उसी लैंग्वेज में डिस्कस करेंगे, उसी लैंग्वेज में रीड करेंगे विदाउट यूज ऑफ प्यूपिल्स लैंग्वेज। यानी कि यहाँ बच्चे की भाषा का प्रयोग नहीं होगा, विदाउट ट्रांसलेशन नहीं होगी एंड विदाउट द स्टडी ऑफ फॉर्मल ग्रामर। ये जो डेफिनेशन दी गई है डायरेक्ट मेथड की, दिस इज अकॉर्डिंग टू वेबस्टर्स न्यू इंटरनेशनल डिक्शनरी। अब यहां हमने बात की डायरेक्ट मेथड की एक डेफिनेशन की। इस डायरेक्ट मेथड को हम नेचुरल मेथड भी कहते हैं। हियर इन दिस मेथड मदर टंग इज नॉट यूज्ड एट ऑल, और वी कैन से दैट it is a method of teaching English directly without the use of pupil's mother tongue. Translation is totally banned in the classroom, and meaning of words is taught by the means of natural objects or through some natural content. In this method, emphasis is laid on the fluency of speech, and it is rightly said that learning to speak a language is always by far the shorter road to the learning and to write. Now let us discuss the principles of direct method of teaching English. First principle of direct method is direct bond between the word and meaning. First is direct bond between the word and meaning. Here mother tongue does not come between the English word and its meaning. So there is direct bond between the foreign language and its meaning, or meaning and the foreign language. Second principle of direct method is oral practice. Second is oral practice. Oral practice is a lot of oral practice is must for everyone. So it is the base of this method, that is direct method, that is oral practice. Third principle is the inhibition of mother tongue. As we have already discussed, there is totally ban on the mother tongue. There is no use of pupil's mother tongue in the direct method of teaching of English. Fourth principle is sentence. Now, sentence, when we are talking about sentence as a unit of speech, we are talking about sentence as a unit of speech. Here, the unit of speech is a sentence and not a word, because emphasis is laid on the speaking through the means of sentences. So emphasis is not on words but on the sentences. Next is limited vocabulary. Limited vocabulary means, here limited vocabulary, it is based on the needs and requirements of the learners. So here in this method there is limited vocabulary. Next is the descriptive teaching grammar. Descriptive teaching grammar. Here when we talk about descriptive teaching grammar, stress is laid on the functional grammar, not on the formal grammar. And in this method, language precedes grammar. Learning of grammar is not a precondition of learning the language. Grammar is not an end in itself. So here we discuss the descriptive grammar, or we can say the functional grammar. And next principle is questionnaire technique. Next principle of this method is questionnaire technique. In the questionnaire technique is adopted in the direct method when the teacher is teaching. For example, I have put the pen on the table. Teacher can ask the following questions like, what is in my hand by holding a pen, what I am doing putting it on the table, what I have done after putting it on the table. So in this method, questionnaire technique is adopted. Next is emphasis is given on pronunciation. Here emphasis is given on pronunciation because it is focused on speaking. So more emphasis is given on pronunciation. Now next is the two maxims of teaching are followed. First is from simple to complex. In the direct method of teaching, two maxim. First is simple to complex is followed. First simplest things are taught and then complex things. And from concrete to abstract. Concrete to abstract. These things are visible and these are invisible things. So first we teach about the concrete and then we teach about the abstract. These are some principles of direct method of teaching English. Now let us discuss the advantages of direct method. First advantage is it gives the fluency of speech. Fluency of speech means direct method focuses on the sentences or it focuses on the speech. So it is the quickest way of getting started in English, that is fluency in speech. Second advantage is oral approach, or we can say more stress is on oral words. In this method, as we have already discussed, which concern good pronunciation habit to the learners. Third advantage is it is a natural method of learning any language because there is direct bond between the words and meaning. It teaches English language in the same way in which a child learns its mother tongue through listening and speaking. Next, fourth principle is it follows the principle of whole to part. Whole to part means it follows the pattern from sentences to words. That is why whole to part principle is followed in the direct method. It is psychologically sound because it proceeds from particular to journal, so it is psychologically sound method. Next advantage of this method is that this method helps in the self-expression without the use of mother tongue. It makes more use of audio-visual aids because here in this method we are not using mother tongue. So to better understanding of the students, we use the audio-visual aids. And one of three aids facilitates learning English and makes the lesson more interesting. And it helps the teacher and learner to cover up the more syllabus in lesser time because no use of mother tongue, direct method, English to English, so less time is consumed in this method. And it helps the teacher to emphasize on the pronunciation, on the mistakes. It makes the English easy and pleasant. While developing the interest, it makes the teaching easy and pleasant. And it emphasizes on pronunciation. It is directly related to the language skills. There are 4 language skills we all know: listening, speaking, reading and writing, and it is directly concerned with these all language skills, and it transforms the passive vocabulary into active vocabulary because we are talking about direct method. So these are some advantages of direct method. Now let us discuss some of the disadvantages of direct method. First is the lack of atmosphere, because in Indian scenario the teachers are not so much prepared or so much fluent. So first disadvantage is lack of atmosphere. Second disadvantage is it is incomplete method, because in this no formal grammar is there and we only focus on little vocabulary. So this is a sort of incomplete method. Then the next is it is difficult and expensive. How it is difficult and expensive? Because as we have already discussed, teachers are not so much competent, so it is very much difficult and expensive in the sense of audio visual aids. Here we require audio visual aids more than any other method of teaching English. That's why it is very much expensive method, and it ignores the teaching of grammar. As we already said that it is incomplete because it ignores the on functional grammar only, but it ignores formal grammar. And this method is also not fit for overcrowded class. Not fit for overcrowded class. And next disadvantage of this method is that students do not think in foreign language, but they think in their own mother tongue. And in this method, the mother tongue is totally ignored. And it does not lay emphasis on the selection and gradation of language. That is very much important in teaching any language. So these are some disadvantages of direct method. But in spite of some shortcomings of direct method, it is considered to be a good method for teaching English. Because in public schools, the students and teachers belong to higher economic background. So they have enough opportunities for the conversation. So in such schools, direct method is appropriate and useful. But in ordinary schools or in Indian schools, the method is not practiced and adopted. So from the point of view of the functional value of language, direct method occupies the number 1 position. This is all about the direct method of teaching of English.